What happens to the soul of a baby that was never born? It is a question few dare to ask out loud. For some, it's too painful. For others, too complicated. And for many, too mysterious to even begin to understand. In quiet corners of grief, in the private chambers of regret or spiritual confusion, this question lingers, unanswered. Are these unborn souls lost forever? Do they return? Do they remember? Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, was no stranger to life's most profound and uncomfortable questions. From reincarnation to karma, soul origins to afterlife journeys, he gave voice to truths long buried beneath dogma, fear, and silence. And in a handful of rarely discussed readings, Cayce spoke directly, though quietly, about the fate of spirits who leave the earthly plane before birth. What he revealed was not just surprising, it was deeply spiritual. It carried the weight of cosmic law, the tenderness of divine justice, and a mysterious continuity of the soul's journey. If you've ever wondered whether souls choose their parents, what happens when a pregnancy ends before birth, or whether karma plays a role in the life that never came to be, then what follows may change how you view the entire cycle of incarnation. Before we begin, make sure to follow House of Spirit if you are drawn to the deeper spiritual mysteries of existence. Every video we create is designed to honor the hidden truths Cayce uncovered, truths that were never meant to remain forgotten. In reading 136-83, given for a young woman experiencing recurring grief, Cayce was asked about the spirit of a child lost before birth. His response was brief but clear. He said that no soul is ever lost, and that the entity, meaning the soul, had simply withdrawn and would return again at another time, under different conditions. The soul's journey, Cayce explained, is never cut short. This reading is one of several that point to a core truth in Cayce's worldview, that every soul exists before birth, and that incarnation is not a beginning, but a continuation. So when a pregnancy ends early, whether by choice, accident, or illness, the soul is not destroyed or erased. Instead, it waits. It reassesses. It realigns with the divine forces that guide its evolution. In another reading, 57-532, Cayce referred to a case where a miscarriage had occurred. He noted that the entity had chosen not to enter fully into the physical form yet, and that the opportunity would arise again for the soul to incarnate. This suggests that the process of soul entry is more fluid than we imagine, and that birth itself is not a moment of creation, but of convergence. To understand Cayce's view fully, we must first unlearn the rigid belief that a soul enters the body at a precise, single moment. In fact, Cayce often spoke of gradual entry, where the soul or entity begins its connection with the developing fetus during gestation, but only fully anchors at or near the time of birth. In reading 1472, Chapter 2, he explained that the soul may choose to hover near the physical form, sometimes engaging, sometimes withdrawing, depending on conditions, both karmic and emotional, of the parents and environment. This means that not every pregnancy automatically results in the soul's full commitment to incarnation. And this is not failure. It is part of a divine economy of energy, experience, and choice. When abortion occurs, Cayce did not speak of punishment or moral condemnation. Instead, he emphasized responsibility, compassion, and understanding the larger spiritual picture. In reading 315-4, a woman asked Cayce about a pregnancy that had ended voluntarily and whether the soul of that child was lost. His response was compassionate, not doctrinal. He said that the soul was not destroyed and that it would find another channel. The lesson, he implied, was not one of guilt, but of awareness, recognizing that choices made in the physical have echoes in the soul's evolution, but never sever its divine connection. This understanding also reveals something deeply hopeful. The soul of a baby who is not born can, and often does, return. It may come through the same family at a later time, or it may find a new channel entirely. Cayce affirmed in several readings that these souls carry forward the intention of birth until the time is right. This reincarnational flexibility is central to Cayce's view of divine justice. It is not linear, but adaptive, not rigid, but guided by love and learning. In reading 868-1, Cayce even described a soul that had tried to enter 3 different times before finally succeeding. Each time, external circumstances shifted the outcome, but the soul continued seeking a way to return. This suggests that life does not simply happen to us. It is a co-creation between soul intent and physical opportunity. The soul is not passively assigned to a body. It participates in the unfolding of its destiny. So when a life ends before it begins, whether by nature or by choice, it is not a spiritual void. It is a pause, a redirection. And often the parents involved are part of that soul's larger karmic circle. They are not punished by loss, but invited into deeper awareness of the sacred cycles they are part of. This perspective softens the harshest assumptions. It replaces judgment with understanding, and it opens the door to something else. Cayce always emphasized that we are never alone in these decisions. Spirit, guide force, and higher consciousness are always present, even when we are unaware. The idea that a soul might choose not to enter a body, or that a body might be formed before the soul fully commits, leads to one of the most powerful and least understood aspects of Cayce's work: pre-birth agreements. In reading after reading, he spoke of souls making conscious decisions before incarnation, decisions based on karmic debts, lessons needed, and even the spiritual development of others within the same soul group. When asked in reading 2751-1 about the purpose of a life that lasted only a few days, Cayce replied that even such brief incarnations could have profound impact. Sometimes, he said, the purpose was not for the soul to experience life, but to awaken something within the parents or family, a new level of compassion, spiritual reflection, or emotional maturity. The soul in these cases agreed beforehand to enter only briefly, knowing the experience would be part of a greater pattern of growth for all involved. It is a difficult truth, but a liberating one. The unborn, the stillborn, and even those whose lives end in infancy are not lost souls. They are participants in a spiritual dance we can only partially see. Cayce's readings affirm this again and again. He often reminded seekers that the soul is eternal, and that no experience is wasted, not even the painful ones. In reading 1739-6, Cayce addressed the grief of a woman who had experienced a terminated pregnancy. His guidance was not one of judgment, but of karmic reflection. He said the soul connected to that event would find its time and its conditions in alignment with universal law. He urged the woman to release guilt and focus instead on preparing herself emotionally and spiritually for future experiences, knowing that the energy of that soul was still close to her. These teachings are difficult, not because they are harsh, but because they ask us to see life and death from a higher vantage point. Cayce didn't offer easy comfort. He offered cosmic perspective. He spoke of karmic law not as punishment, but as balance. If a soul was prevented from entering the physical, either by natural miscarriage or human decision, the law of cause and effect would guide both soul and parents to the next chapter. That might mean reunion, that might mean separation, but it would never mean disconnection from spirit. In this way, Cayce challenged both secular and religious views. To those who believed abortion severed a soul forever, he responded with mercy and reincarnation. To those who dismissed the spiritual nature of unborn life, he responded with reverence and mystery. Every soul, he taught, is known, is guided, and will find its way. What becomes clear across all these readings is that we are part of a vast and living network of intention, choice, and sacred timing. The unborn are not left in darkness. They are held in the hands of eternity, and their return is only a matter of when. Among the most profound revelations in Edgar Cayce's work is that souls do not simply vanish when a life ends prematurely. Instead, they circle back, often in surprising and meaningful ways. Many of his readings suggest that a soul who was unable to incarnate in one attempt may return to the same parents later, or to someone within the same soul group. This reappearance is not random. It's guided by intention, by karmic threads that span lifetimes. In reading 4051, Cayce discussed a case in which a child had died shortly after birth. only to return years later as a sibling's child. The soul had chosen a different channel, but stayed within the same karmic field. Cayce explained that these families often carry shared lessons across generations. He called them soul clusters, moving through time together for mutual growth. This means that the spirit of the unborn child may return in ways we don't expect. Sometimes, Cayce noted, they return in dreams, visions, or even through emotional impressions, a lingering sense of someone who was close, yet never seen. These moments are not fantasy. They are evidence of spiritual continuity. In reading 507-2, Cayce was asked about a woman who repeatedly felt a child's presence near her, despite never having given birth. His response was both gentle and astonishing. He said the soul was still near her, waiting, and that in time, the way will open for its return. That waiting soul, he explained, was not in limbo. It was in preparation, gathering strength for a more aligned moment. What Cayce offered was not a theology of loss, but a blueprint of eternal belonging. Souls are never wasted. They are never discarded. Even in the mystery of abortion, miscarriage, or infant loss, the soul continues its purpose. And often it is the parents who are chosen again, because love, not failure, is what binds the spirit world to the physical. Some mothers and fathers have described the sensation of being watched over by the child they never held. Others report dreams in which the child appears older than they would have been, smiling, offering comfort. Cayce would have seen these experiences not as imagination, as Cayce explained in reading the spiritual body of the child 64. Its bond through souls are drawn to where they are needed, and when the time to where love right, has prepared a place for them, and to where karmic energies can unfold in new directions. That means healing is always possible, reunion is always possible. Even more, redemption, on both sides, is possible. Because the universe Cayce described is not a cold system of punishment and reward, it is a living organism of mercy, timing, and sacred rebalancing. And at its center is the soul, eternal, choosing, returning, learning, and the tapestry of Cayce's teachings. The story of souls that were never born is not a tale of tragedy. It is a testament to the profound intelligence of spirit and to the limitless grace of the divine plan. These souls are not forgotten, not lost, and certainly not punished. They are part of a continuum, threads woven through many lifetimes, seeking wholeness and reunion. For those who carry the sorrow of an unborn child, Cayce's readings offer something deeper than comfort. They offer meaning. They suggest that the bond between soul and parent is not broken by the absence of a heartbeat. It simply shifts form. The energy, the intention, the karmic connection, it continues. Sometimes it returns in this life. Sometimes it waits for another, but it is never discarded. And what of the choice? The decision to end a pregnancy? Cayce did not condemn. He pointed instead toward growth. In every reading where this delicate subject arose, he reminded the seeker not to dwell in guilt, but to understand, to pray, to listen inwardly. The soul, he said, is forgiving. The spirit world is not a courtroom, but a classroom. What matters most is how we transform our choices into consciousness, how we open our hearts to future paths of love and responsibility. In reading 3744-5, Cayce said, "In the spiritual realm, nothing is lost. All is accounted for. All is known." It is this foundation of cosmic love and remembrance that gives Cayce's perspective its unique tenderness. Whether a soul incarnates or waits, it remains connected to the source and to those who called it forth, even if only for a moment. So what happens to souls after abortion? According to Edgar Cayce, they continue their journey. They may return, they may wait, but above all, they remain. Alive in spirit, complete in essence, and forever part of the divine rhythm of birth, death, and rebirth. Their presence is not erased. it is simply transformed. If you are someone who has experienced such a loss, or who carries questions about what could have been, know this: the bond you felt was real, the soul was real, and the love, however brief, left its imprint beyond time. There is no punishment in spirit, only paths that lead back to wholeness. As we close this reflection, remember the words Cayce so often repeated: the soul lives on. That is not just a truth for the dead, but for the unborn and for the living who remember them. Thank you for watching House of Spirik. If this video stirred something within you, consider subscribing to our channel. Every week, we explore the hidden teachings of Edgar Cayce, forgotten soul truths, and mystical insights that awaken the spirit. You are not alone, you are not forgotten, and neither are they.